and we are here to present our PA webinar. This is Namrata from First Hive, and the topic for today is using your CDP to unlock cross-sell and upsell opportunities in financial services. Our panelist today is Prashant Ramesh, who is our regional head for Asia Pacific. Prashant comes in with 16 years of work experience has been in fact pioneer when it comes to selling CDP to financial services customer. So he has lot of experience when it comes to deploying solutions for financial services customer. Our second panelist today is Himanshu Barua from Softline Asia, which happens to be a partner. He is the marketing director over there and comes with 15 years of work experience. Prior to Softline Asia, Himanshu has worked with brands like IBM and Oracle, and primarily in the domain of BFSI or financial services for that matter. So let's start. What are the key challenges that financial services marketer face today? They know me, but they don't know me. I'm sure you, though being marketers from financial services, have experienced this yourself, where you get irritated with a particular phone call and you think that this particular brand has my KYC, they have my transaction details, they have my interaction details, but still, why are they restarting the journey with me? Why are they asking me for so much of documentation? Why there is no personalization? Why there is no customization? You get irritated, right? The second challenge that you face is the compliance, the regulations, right? This is one thing that we marketers hate. While you feel that, okay, I'm now settled, I'm now compliant, suddenly some new regulation will come in and you will feel as if, oh my God, again, we'll have to do some change in content, messaging, brief agencies and all that. The third challenge that we face is that though there is so much of data that we have, because financial services as compared to any other agency and any other brand has not many data, and customer is more comfortable sharing their data with a financial services company as opposed to, let's say, a retail supermarket, right? But still, the data utilization is suboptimal. Different product categories, let's say a credit card division is not able to mine the savings account division's data, versus equity division, debt division. So there's a lot of that utilization is suboptimal. The fourth challenge that they face is that this is a highly regulated industry, and because of which every company has their own data security norms, which makes marketers difficult. Their life is difficult. They're not able to get real-time access to data, and this obviously results in latency. The offer that you make to the customer is not a real-time offer. It is, let's say, after 24 hours or 48 hours and all that. This latency is a big challenge. And fifth and last but not the least key challenge that we see is the millennial generation, right? Few years back, net banking was a cool thing, digital transaction was a cool thing, but today that's not the case. It's given, and this is primarily because of the reason that we are spoiled. We are experiencing Zomato, Swiggy, Ola, Uber. The experience with these technologies are so good, the journey is so seamless that subconsciously we start expecting same things with financial services company as well, while the customer might not be aware that there are other challenges that financial services marketers have. So with this, I hand over the session to our key speaker, Prashant Ramesh. So Prashant, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Namrata, for setting the context. That was nicely done, and I think that sets the ball in motion. I wanted to have a few specific points, check with Himanshu and for the viewers to also mull over. Is in terms of how and what they feel is something that are the tools that are being used by a financial services firm. There's a plethora of offerings that are being made available, and in fact, I read a recent Scott Brinker report which says that there are probably about 8,000 plus marketing or marketing tech enabled tools. I mean, that's a lot of toys to play with, right? So how does a financial marketer manage all this? And Himanshu, who comes from this space as a digital marketing expert, I want to check with him about what he's seen over a period of time in terms of the tools that are being used, and the typical challenges that are being faced, not just by the financial industry, but marketers on the whole.
Yes, thanks, Prashant. You bring a very, very valid point. If you look at traditionally, financial services industry is highly advanced in terms of technology investments. Millions of dollars are spent every year by companies in various forms of high-end marketing tools, and it started evolving since CRM days. And now we have, like you already kind of referenced, Scott Brinkers. There's so many tools that we have. If I have to name a few, it started with CRM, then we have the web CMS, then you have social, then you have digital, which is now you don't know where it ends, right? So as a marketer, I think CRM still kind of is the foundation layer, but it is no longer the only platform that will yield anything for you. So there is your web CMS, there is your social media, there is your digital marketing, there are listening tools, there are sentiment tools, and a lot more. So that's where I feel that it's highly invested, but there are again too many options for us today.
Yeah, and I think that's again a problem of plenty, right? I mean, with so many tools in place, do you think all of these are connected? Do you think there's that one experience that all of these tools are able to bring for the customer? Do you think customer experience is kind of compromised because of these many tools being available?
And with the whole big data, right? Although marketing is so advanced, it still has to deal with structured as well as unstructured data. And if I am not today relevant to my customer, and I'm not personalizing my messages to him or her, I think I'm losing the plot right there. So it kind of needs a central theme around each of the personas that I am chasing or I'm targeting, from a sale perspective or from a marketing perspective. I definitely have to kind of bring in meaningful conversations, bring all of this together, so that there is an outcome based activity that I'm running.
So I think that is where from where you left, I believe a system of intelligence, a central marketing brain is the need of the hour, which kind of connects all of these systems of record, be it your POS, your ERP, CRM, data that comes from varied sources, and also connects these to the systems of engagement, which is typically your marketing stack. I think that one view of a customer that would enable not just a system of intelligence, but also action and decision. I think that is where the customer data platforms DNA is. That's the heart of the presence of a customer data platform. And specifically for financial marketers, I think this is a boon because there's so much of first party data that's being made available. In fact, it's a lot akin to the Hansel and Gretel story, I believe, where there are customers who leave a lot of breadcrumbs of data, and it's for us to ensure that the birds don't pick them up. That footprint has to be continuously used. And I think that's where a customer data platform continuously uses and enhances all of these footprints that are made available over a period of time across channels. And then again, I also believe that me as a customer, so in the financial space, I would hold multiple portfolios across product lines, and I am being connected across multiple channels, right? From the website, Facebook, telecaller, so on and so forth. For me, Prashant as a user needs to be treated as the same individual across all of these product lines and across channels. And I think with that unified one view of me, I am able to ensure that I get experiences which are in line with the patterns of behavior that I show across these touch points. And I am not treated as a different individual across different product lines. So for example, a motor loan company shouldn't be coming to me with a loan offering much after I've paid my renewals on time. So I think these are the experiences that kind of have customers lose brand loyalty. But I think with the customer data platform in place and all of these systems working in tandem and beautifully and giving that one view, I think that enhances my experience and ensures that I'm much more loyal to the brand over a period of time.
Absolutely. And this actually, you being on the other side, I want your views on how do you think today's marketers on the BFSI side of the business can find value and then improve their cross sell and upsell opportunities targeting the customers.
Sure. And I think especially in the BFSI space, getting a new customer is going to be much more difficult. But then nurturing an existing customer and getting more bang for buck out of him is equally, or him or her is equally difficult. And customers in general have different patterns that they show. I think the guiding light for any financial marketer is going to be the customer's uh, patterns that he or she shows across multiple platforms, be it the mobile, the web, social. There are so many channels that a customer interacts with the brand. And I think the guiding light for the marketer should be the customer's behavior. I think that's the North Star to kind of ensure that the right channel, right time, right messaging, all of this to provide a better experience for him or her. And I think that is where, with the power of a CDP, we are able to give much more emphasis on the customer's needs with times like COVID, where there's so much more focus on value as opposed to just generic offers, where we need to unclutter the noise and kind of, make sure that we give them what's nice and cut off the noise and, delivering value over a period of time. I think these are elements that are much more paramount importance in these tough times. And I think if with a CDP, with getting to know the customer behavior and patterns in real time, I think we are able to connect with them with the right message at the right time, just based on the propensity he or she has shown towards a particular channel, be it a mobile or an app. So I think these are easy ways and means to improve the experience for an existing customer and ensure that offers are in line with his or her behavior patterns. And I think these automatically will lead to enhanced cross-sell and upsell opportunities. I think that's where, the crux of the plot is that the premium being on the relevance to the customer. And I think that's where, it begins and ends. Also, I believe that I was talking about the channel propensity and, using customers' behavior to target him or her. Also for a financial firm, because they deal with so many customers and they have so much data that's available and to be worked, so much at stake for them to get quicker marketing returns, it also is imperative about whom they want to talk to, who are their top customers, how do they segment the top players versus the ones who might not historically or behavior wise give them the kind of investments in their brand. So I think you need to segment the right kind of users to target. That's number one in terms of the first dimension. Other is about when do you want to talk to them? What's the right time to talk to, say, Himanshu or any of the viewers? Are they somebody who are active on SMS, or are they somebody who are going to be checking emails at 4 p.m.? So that kind of a behavior pattern and identifying what the right time is, I think that's also quite important to create the buzz with the end user. Where do you want to talk to them? So there are going to be multiple channels that are available, and I think it's you kind of hit the top of the iceberg when you said that there's mobile, there's social, there's channels, there's on the web. You can connect with them with a banner personalization or with a small bell icon popularized by Facebook. So these are ways and means that you can target them. So I think based on behavior patterns, you get to know where is the best way to connect with them to create that buzz in your product or your to the cross sell or upsell that you're trying to manage. Apart from that, the right messaging is also important. I think what you want to talk to them is also in line with the behavior that they show. So I think the right messaging, the right time, the right channel, and over and above all this, in fact, identifying whom you want to talk to. I think these are all elements that a CDP will be able to capture and activate from a marketer's standpoint. And the beauty of the CDP is that this is a marketer's dream in many ways, because in terms of bringing it to motion, there's very limited IT investment or activity. It is a plug and play offering available on the cloud with all of the security elements in place. So I think that is where it would be ideal for financial marketers to lap up the concept of a CDP purely because they're going to be getting much more from their customers by getting to know complete insights about him or her.
Absolutely.
I'll also touch upon a few use cases that the CDP drives, and these are very relevant from an upsell and a cross-sell positioning as well. Because one is that we are able to bring in brand loyalty by hyper-personalizing experiences for existing customers. So there's one thing about working with anonymous users, but an existing customer, if you could just address him by his or her name the first time that they log into the site after a period of activity, that immediately ensures that you are connecting with them. And now beyond that, if you are also able to mimic their activity on the site and show relevant offers based on just their past intent and with a hyper personalized message, I think that adds much more value as opposed to a generic marketing offer that could come their way either on the website or the app. Now, some of the other use cases are about just creating that one view or the single source of truth. There are customers with banks with lot of customer data which can be made available in the form of a one view of all of these customers, which can then be used to draw further insights. Also, unstructured data, the form of voice messages, or something as simple as a like on your Facebook business page. These can also be ingested as forms of data, which typically a CRM or any of the traditional systems will miss out on. So managing unstructured data to enhance the customer profile is something that, again, is a CDP strength. Apart from that, using the data real time. So for example, Himanshu has shown interest on a particular product and is right back on the website. That is the time to target him with a continuation of his past activity. So I think using that real time data to convert you from just a prospect who's shown interest to move you through the sales cycle and the funnel, I think that is something, the relevance is created by your intent and by the CDP's ability to identify that you're back. And again, with the CDP, it's more about nurturing data as well. I think I believe that there are certain elements that you go out in the open and market and retarget and go on and so forth. But in the background, you also consistently keep enhancing the customer's profile and wait for the right time to connect with him or her. So for example, if a prospect has a kid in the family and they've added them as a nominee in one of their insurance plans, that is probably a trigger for the financial firm to then sell them a savings or a child back or a kids plan from a savings perspective, because that's just the right time and the person is in the right mood to lap it up. So I think these are ways and means to enhance the customer profile and opportunistically wait for the right moments to target them where the impact would be most. Also with COVID, and I'll be glad to hear your thoughts to Himanshu. I think with our activity as from a foot traffic reducing, I think the erstwhile way was to move online customers to the nearby stores based on their activity. But now I think it's probably vice versa. It's about using POS data, using old data of people who visited stores, seeing their activity and trying to see if they can be brought back online to continue with the purchase of an insurance plan or paying their premiums online. So I think these are elements that, with the change in the times, I think moving online from a transaction perspective is imperative. And I think I'd like to hear your views too on where do you think that kind of situation has led us.
Yeah, I mean, I say this in almost every forum that, with or without COVID, remote work is here to stay, and it's here to stay for a long, long time. All the points that you've mentioned are very, very valid. And, if I look at the banking and financial services industry as a whole, the good thing about this industry is that they are quite rich in the first party customer data. So you actually have the actual and the real time data of every customer of yours. And if there is, as a marketer, if I can find a way to leverage this data, which will give me insights like nobody else. I mean, some of the guys are in the other industry might be struggling to get meaning out of the data that they have. And this can actually give them valuable insights that can be used for customer targeting, right? And I think when you spoke about CDP, I find that as a perfect MarTech tool that every marketer can today use. It's like becomes the center through which you kind of spring out different ways that you can target a single customer in the ways that the customer wants you to reach out to him, and the content that they want to hear from you, and it becomes very very relevant, and not like the earlier ones when we used to spray and pray. These are very very targeted, campaign driven, and also has meaning for the customer at the other end. So I think it's a win-win situation for both the sides.
Sure. Absolutely. And I think, yeah, there are a few other use cases too, just about creating that impact on the website. So for example, I'm coming back to the website after a period of activity. The system knows that I'm an existing user and just hyper personalizing the experience for me, calling me by name, knowing my past activity, and showing me relevant offers right on the site when I'm available to act it upon it. I think these are a continuation of some of the elements you mentioned too, about making the customer feel good about himself or her without really prying on their privacy either, right? Because this is intent that they have shown, and these are people who are part of your database that you are targeting with relevant offers. And so I think that really is a win-win in terms of the power of the CDP to bring about these intelligent marketing activations across different touch points. Again, the same would be on the website as well. So I think we've connected and discussed about a number of such use cases where end of day, what is the experience that we're bringing to the customer? Are we spraying and praying and hoping for him or her to react just based on a whim? Or are we building that intelligence over a period of time with all of the activity that he or she displays, plus all of the activity that we are able to gather from other transactional and behavioral sources to create that one experience for this particular customer? So for example, Namrata might be, as an investment person, somebody who's ready to take challenges and invest in a something that's kind of a high risk, high reward. Whereas I could be somebody who is playing it safe. So for in the case of a mutual funds firm, for them to identify these kind of patterns of behavior and to create specific persona based journeys, customer journeys based on our propensity for either risk or reward. So I think these are small elements of customization of your journey based on the traits that the customer displays. So I think these will go a long way in terms of incrementally increasing the marketing ROI, and more often than not, substantially increasing it over a period of time just by these small trigger changes that are being made.
Himanshu, you're on mute.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
This brings to a very valid question that I think all of our marketers will have, is that banking and financial services is very, very regulated. And if you have, these tools, do we need to worry about being compliant with the government regulations, or do you think, this takes care of it?
Sure. And I smirk when you answer, because this is a question that most financial marketers and people I've sold to have asked, and I think this is of a paramount importance for them in terms of how are they managing their PII, the personally identifiable information that's available. Are they keeping it within their firewalls? Is it within their purview? But to assuage these concerns, a CDP by default is privacy by design. So the marketer or the financial firm gets complete control over their first party data, and be it in India where typically ISO 27000 norms are in place, or even globally where there's a GDPR compliance that is expected, CDP by default falls into that space of both privacy by design and the security and data aspects being in place. Additionally, there are flexibilities that a CDP provides where the personally identifiable information could be within the territory of where the customer is, where the bank is, or in fact, even within their own premises, if that is a need. So I think these are elements that are customizable from a CDP standpoint. It is privacy by design. And most importantly, it focuses on the first party data, which is pretty much all of the customer data that's available to the bank, most of which in current time is not being used very optimally. That includes all of these unstructured data, voice files, activity on Facebook pages. So all of these, when it adds to that one view, and when we show that it is going to be secure and safe for the bank to work with, and additionally, with the CDP, with the marketing activation in place, even if there are external vendors who are managing the downloadation, there is a format of hashing that is available, wherein the encryption is to such a level that they only get to work on the customer journeys, but they don't really have the data in the true sense. So it is a best of both worlds. It's a marriage of security, convenience, and action. And I think that is the mantra for success that CDP is able to provide.
So you're saying the framework is in place that not only allows us to make data-driven decisions, but also being compliant and being adhering to the standards and security and the information quality.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I think it was great. We have completed our 20 minutes of the discussion round, and it is time for us to open the stage to our participants to ask questions. So all of you, you can ask your question. There is a small icon called Q&A below. In between, I had seen somebody raising their hand. I think it was Rohit. Rohit, if you could just post your question in Q&A. It would be great. So we'll now wait for questions. Himanshu and Prashant, thank you so much. I think now we will wait. We loved hearing from you. Let's now hear what our audience is keen to ask. So Prashant, I will ask a question on behalf of, I'll ask a question. There are questions coming in, but until then I will ask you a question. So Prashant, definitely, it looks like CDPs are like this marketing brain. You mentioned about marketing brain. You mentioned that it's a central system of intelligence and all that. How much time does it take to deploy this kind of a thing? Because now there are just 2 quarters left, for this year to end. And again, next quarter will be majorly in festivities and all that. Typically, if our audience here wants to deploy a CDP, how much time does it take? This is my first question. And second question is there any method of testing? Because I understand this is such a big product. I'm sure the expense would be high. So is there any method of a POC or something like that, Prashant?
Sure, Amrita. To answer the first question, I think the CDP by design is made for quick wins. So we go live, it's cloud based. We just integrate with existing data sources. There's limited IT involvement from a customer side just to get all of the data sources in place. And then it is about just ensuring that the marketing activation is in place. And to add to this question, I think Rohit also had a question about how easy is it to integrate with existing marketing tech stacks. So CDPs provide the flexibility of either more often than not doing the marketing activation themselves, doing the last mile, or via easy API integrations coexisting with existing MarTech stack. So I think that is a flexibility that we are able to provide, and in double quick time. So anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks, we can completely go live with a full-fledged CDP implementation with all of the varied data sources in place, a one view of all of your customers, a unified, enhanced golden record, and then the marketing activation, which could either be directly managed or through existing marketing stacks as well. So I think that is where it's almost a no-brainer for a financial firm to look for a CDP, especially where they are trying to not just get new customers, but manage cross-sell and upsell campaigns.
And the question about POC, Prashant, is it possible? Because we see that brands have 13 to 16 channels. Some brands have typically brands have more than 8 channels that their customers or prospects interact with. So it's a huge task, right? It's the investment is not just monetary, but the investment from a brand's perspective is also on deploying so many resources who would work with First Type to make that integration happen. Is there any way of testing this product, a sort of a POC
Absolutely.
kind of a thing? Yeah. Can you just
And
spend a minute talking about that? Yeah.
Sure. With First Hive as a CDP, I think we're very CapEx and OpEx friendly in the true sense, because we also provide much quicker wins in the form of a POC. We can do a quick whiteboarding session to identify what the data sources are, what is the impact that the customer is trying to create, say, over a 90-day or a 150-day time frame. And then we can have a strategy in place where there is minimal investment from the customer standpoint, and we can look at quick ROI, which is measurable and actionable in those the days that have been identified. So I think that should answer your question about how difficult is it to go live and what are the timelines that are involved. So yeah, a 90 or a 180-day POC is very much possible with actionable and identifiable, quantifiable results for the customer.
Yes, I think that's great. I think typically what happens is that there are certain use cases, certain journeys that marketers come us with during the pilot phase, and we test those use cases. We see what were the metrics, what were the achievements, what were the metrics before deploying a CDP, what the scenarios were, what all things marketer was able to do before CDP, and after CDP, after these 3 to 6 months of POC, we then evaluate what is the difference that CDP has brought to the table, and then accordingly the deals are won or lost. Okay, one question that came in from our audience is, we have seen that CDP, you have mentioned that CDP operates with first party data, but this question has come in saying that does CDP operate with third party data as well?
Sure. Can I take that, Himanshu?
Yes, yes.
So I'll answer that with a disclaimer that there is this new angle of third-party deprecation, and the fact that activity outside of a bank's purview is only available in certain formats. But if there are existing DMPs that are available, the third-party tools are usually DMP driven. For the CDP, while the core is managing the first-party data, if it means additional value for the financial firm, third-party data from a DMP is just an added data source. It is easily integrable to the system, and that adds further value. If at all, that is something that is going to be adding value from an overall profile enhancement perspective. I think that is the caveat only being that third-party data is now going to be regulated, and there's going to be some challenges managing it. But if it is made available, it is just another data source for CDP to work with.
Yeah, and the utilization is more from the perspective of forward activation. It is not, you won't be able to start identity building with third party data. It's not that we will get access to third party data, but yes, you could create a segmentation of, let's say, your high profile customers or high net worth customers, do a lookalike modeling, give it to Facebook, Google, and all that. So you could integrate DMP with a CDP to reach third party, but you cannot start identity building with that because it is not allowed as per a lot of regulations, including GDPR, PDPA, CCPA, and so many that would be coming here on. Okay, so I think we are done with 30 minutes. In fact, we have gone 4 minutes over. Okay, I think it was great, as we have seen in many statistics or survey reports. Retention is a key focus, especially in today's time. When you have your own customers whom you can mine, why go outside, right? So I think it was great. I still see many questions coming in. I promise that First I would definitely go through these questions and answer you individually. We will write back to your email because we have already overshot our time. Yes, thank you so much. It was great. Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Prashant. It was great meeting all of you. We will definitely connect with all of you with our next Power webinar. You were a lovely audience. We had great time. And thank you again for attending. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach out to us at marketing@firstdive.com, or you can just search for First Dive on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. We are there. Okay. See you in the next webinar. Thank you so much, Prashant and Himanshu.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Good day.